Hey everybody, we got an exciting recipe to share with you today. Now this is something that's been a tradition in my family since I could ever remember, since I was a little kid, and it's Sunday sauce or Sunday gravy or ragu, whatever you want to call it, but traditionally it's tomato sauce. It's baked or simmered all day with usually meatballs, sausage, it could be brajol, pork chops, any kind of meat. I remember from being a little kid, my mom would start it early every Sunday in the morning around 7 o'clock, and it would cook all day until dinner time. And it's something that I want to keep going as a tradition in my family, and I want to share one of the versions of it with you today. And there are a million ways to make it. I make it a million different ways all the time, but this is just one version. I'll show you the ingredients I'm using today. So for the meat, I got my turkey meatballs. You could get the recipe on my YouTube channel. It's DJ Vanna Family Recipes. These are gonna bake. I'm gonna put them in the oven about an hour into my sauce cooking. I'll put them in the oven. I want to let the sauce go for a little while. I got some sweet Italian sausage. This is beef chuck, boneless for stewed. It's basically stew meat. It's the cheapest stuff you can find. This whole package here, it's a pretty heavy package. It's about a pound for less than $4. I got my crushed tomatoes, the Tudoroso. This is what I grew up with. It's already got some basil in there, so you don't need any basil for this recipe. And then some tomato paste. I got my extra virgin olive oil. I got some red wine that my friend brought back from Sicily. This was made on somebody's, in a small batch, and somebody has a little miniature vineyard, one of his relatives, so I'm going to use some of that for my sauce. I got my parsley chopped. I got my pepper, salt, garlic. These cloves, I'm just going to smash them and throw them in whole because they're going to break apart anyway. And I'm going to I'm going to dice up one medium-sized onion. And that's what I need to make my Sunday sauce. So first thing I need to do, I'm going to get the pan heating up, and then I'll show you how we brown up the meats and start the. Alright, so I got my Dutch oven heating up. Now you need a good pot to make a Sunday gravy. This is a big Dutch oven. You could use a regular metal pot, it doesn't matter. It's got to be big enough to handle everything, and it's got to have a nice thick bottom. So this should be pretty hot. I got it on medium low. I'm going to add in some extra virgin olive oil, and I'm going to start first by browning my sausage. Then I'm going to brown up, I'm going to turn this heat up a little bit. Then I'm going to brown up the stew meat, and I'm going to set it all aside in this bowl so we can start making the sauce. Alright, so take a look. My sausage is getting nice and brown, and before I take that out, I want to season my stew meat. I'm going to season it pretty aggressively with some kosher salt and some black pepper. It's going to make a nice crust when I brown it in the pan. Okay. Give this a toss. I'm going to remove the sausage. Be nice brown color on either side, but it's still raw in the middle. Put that in the bowl. And you really got to watch the heat here when you're browning this meat, because there's moisture in the meat and water and oil don't mix. So you got to keep your temperature down to like medium, low, to medium at the most. You really got to watch you don't get oil splattering all over you. I'm going to put this in. I'm going to get a really nice brown on this stew meat, and then we'll be ready for the tomatoes. It's been about 8 minutes on about medium heat, and my steak, my stewed meat, you can see is a nice dark brown. And I got all this stuff on the bottom of the pan that's going to come up later. I'll show you how we do that. Before I remove it, I'll lower the heat to medium low, and I'm going to take out my steak. I'm going to put it with my sausage. And this is all going to cook for about 6 hours, so don't worry about the raw sausage being in there or anything, or the meat not being cooked. This is all going to slowly braise and be really amazing. This steak meat is going to give the sauce incredible amount of flavor. So once that's out, I got my onions. I'm going right in there with my diced onions. Okay. Give that a little bit of a mix. I'm going to put my garlic cloves in there too. Remember, this is just smashed whole garlic cloves. And one thing about garlic is the smaller you cut it and the finer you dice it, the more garlic it tastes. So these are whole cloves. These aren't going to be too garlicky for the sauce. It's going to give it a nice roasted garlic flavor instead of that spicy, pungent garlic flavor. It's going to be really, really good, and it's going to fall apart. So I'm going to hit this with a pinch of salt and pepper and let it cook down for about 5 minutes. So my garlic and onions, I just added a pinch of salt and pepper. These have been cooking only about 2 minutes. They got to go a few more minutes, but while that happens, I'm going to add my tomato paste. I'm going to make some room over here and put it right in with the oil. And I use basically the whole can. I mean, you don't have to use it that much, but it comes out really good that way. It gives it a nice deep flavor. And I'm going to toast this. I'm going to move it around. I want to cook out some of the tin can flavor and toast this tomato paste at the same time that I finish caramelizing these onions. And this smells really, really good. Okay, so take a look. My onions, my garlic, my tomato paste is nice and toasted and cooked down. I'm going to mix it all together. I'm going to turn the heat up to high on the stove. So we're cooking with high flame now. And once that's mixed together, I'm going to add my red wine at this point. And I want to use that to deglaze this pan. And I'm doing about at least a cup and a half of wine. Alright, I'm going to let this come to a boil, and I'm going to scrape everything off the bottom of the pan here, deglaze this pan, and then I'll be ready to add my tomatoes. Okay, so literally only took about a minute because this pot is so heavy on the bottom, it conducts a lot of heat. So take a look, and you can see my wine is mixed with my tomato paste and my onions and my garlic, and I'm using my spatula to get everything off the sides there. I've lowered the heat down to medium-low. And I'm going to come in with my tomatoes and just pour it right on the spatula so you don't get splashed. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, set this aside. And I got to clean out these cans. You can't throw this away if you look inside. There's a lot of tomato in there, so rinse it around the edge. One can of water, and I'm going to mix these until they're all clean and add it right into the sauce. Alright, so I cleaned out my cans here, and you get this tomato water as a result, so you don't want to waste anything. So add that in, okay? And you save these cans, you use it for your wooden spoon, put your spatula in there, then we can just get this out of the way, okay? And now I'm going to add my seasonings. So I need to add a generous amount. I'm going to go probably at least a tablespoon of kosher salt. It needs a good amount of salt. And you can always check it later. My pepper, fresh cracked pepper. I'm going to add some oregano. I'm going to add some Italian seasoning. And I almost forgot, secret ingredient, sugar, just regular sugar. About a tablespoon and a half. Give this a stir, and I'm going to let it come up to a gentle simmer, a bubble, not a boil, because you can burn your sauce, it'll stick to the bottom. A gentle simmer. I'm going to cover it and cook it for about 10 minutes to really get the cooking process going, and we'll be ready to add back our. Alright, so we're getting there. It's getting very close. It's been about 15 minutes, and I started my sauce cooking. You can see it's a very gentle bubble. I don't want to burn this. I don't want it stuck to the bottom. And what I'm going to do is you need a spatula and you need your wooden spoon at this point. So I want to go around the edge and clean everything off with my spatula. Okay, I want to scrape the bottom, make sure there's nothing stuck. And now's the time when I want to add back my meat, my stew meat and my sausage. So just do it carefully. That goes back in. Okay. And don't forget that little bit of juice. Okay, I can put that to the side. And I'll use my wooden spoon now to mix the meat. Stir that in. Okay, I'm gonna put the lid back on. Just leave a little space. I'm gonna lower my heat down to low. And at the same time, I'm gonna put my meatballs in the oven. And I'm gonna add them nice piping hot when they come out of the oven so they soak up all that sauce. So meatballs are going in, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so my meatballs are done. They've been cooking 40 minutes exactly. I'm gonna take them out and I wanna get them right into my sauce. These look good. You can see that peppers give it a nice color in addition to making it taste good. So let me uncover my sauce. I've been stirring my sauce, scraping the bottom and scraping around the edges with my spatula about every 15 minutes or so, just to make sure it doesn't stick. So these should come right up. If it sticks a little, it's okay. But I'm gonna start taking these out. I'm gonna put one over here to try. I'm gonna get these right in. I wanna get them in when they're nice and hot so it soaks up all the sauce. All right, and I did use non-stick spray, but sometimes they still stick a little bit. And that's okay. So get a couple more here. And these are good now. You could throw these right in the freezer, put them in a Ziploc bag, and then take them out and heat them up when you want to eat them. Or you can do what I'm doing here and put them in your sauce. A couple more. Hope this guy's stuck. I don't want to eat wax paper. One, and like I said, just make sure you get them while they're hot, right into the sauce. It's the best way to do it. Like, I don't want to let go. And once those go in, I'm going to stir it, and I'm going to cover my pot again and continue cooking the sauce on low and stirring it about every 15 minutes or so. Now, I say low, but my flame on my stove is really low, so I actually have mine on between 1 and 2 so that there's a little bit of flame, and you want it to kind of gentle bubble as it cooks. Sometimes if you put it on low, it's just not enough heat, it won't cook at all. So we're gonna let this go. We're gonna keep cooking our sauce down for about another 3 hours at least. So it's been about 7 hours and my Sunday gravy is finally done. I'm gonna show you how I plate it up. Now, let me shut this flame off. Now this is a main dish. I already had, like for a typical Sunday, we already had some fresh pasta, and then this would be basically the main course. So I'm gonna serve this with just bread and maybe some butter, and that's it. A couple of turkey meatballs, and I want to find some of the stew meat that's in there. It's a couple pieces. And this sauce is unbelievably fragrant. It smells so good. So this is basically how I would serve it up. Some grated cheese on top. Just like that. I got some Italian bread. I cut it on the bias long ways. I made some toast. And I just need a fork. And if you look at this steak here, I mean, you don't really need a knife. You could just cut right into it with a fork. It's just falling away tender. It's almost like pulled pork. And this is how you would serve it. A little steak, some bread. It's a lot of work, but it's well worth it. This is a meal fit for a king, and a tradition in my family forever that I hope I want to carry on, and you should try it out. It's really, really rewarding.